course in the field of Lean Six Sigma. Thank you. Who started that recording? Thank you, whoever did. Oh, I did automatic, I think. Good. In the world of organizational excellence in the region, and has been personally endorsed by the principal architect of Six Sigma, Dr. Michael Harry, as one of the best resources available on Six Sigma. Dumidu is featured frequently as a keynote speaker, chief guest, and award judge in many international and local conferences. Dumidu has guided over 500 organizations, both manufacturing and services, across 10 countries in their organizational excellence journey, and is known for his skills in Lean Six Sigma deployment and credentials in multiple business disciplines. And you can see where he's also mentored many projects and trained many black belts and master black belts. So tonight's presentation, Quality 4.0, Smart Manufacturing, and Lean Six Sigma. Dumidu is going to discuss the need to shift business models and manufacturing operations in these trying times, all about the global supply chain and the other issues that we're seeing. And believe that the increased adoption of Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing has enabled many new opportunities in the world of Lean Six Sigma. So these opportunities include increasing availability of real-time data, easier access to big data, benefits of additive manufacturing and machine learning, low-cost automation, enhanced simulation methods, and many more. So the key takeaways from tonight's presentation, hopefully, will be that new opportunities are available for Lean Six Sigma practitioners, and how to make use of these opportunities in Lean Six Sigma applications, and making use of Lean Six Sigma thinking in smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 adoption. And finally, critical considerations and future possibilities will be discussed. So Dumidu, I would like to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Bob. Actually, a small change in the title. Right? The title was Industry 4.0 and Smart Manufacturing Effects on Lean Six Sigma.
Okay.
So, right. So with that, if I can share my slides, and I'll start things over. And once again, thank you for that kind introduction. And let me thank Vic, you, and the entire committee of ASQ Phoenix for having me. And it's glad to be, spending time with all of you and sharing on something which is close to my heart. So let me, if it's okay, can I share the screen? All right.
Yes, you can.
Okay, let me just. All right, I hope all of you can see the screen. And just to I'll give you a quick introduction about myself. All right. Okay. So just to give a quick introduction about myself, if I currently head the global operations for SSMI, Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa, Oceania, and recently of Canada as well. So I'll give you a quick introduction about SSMI as well. But in terms of ASQ, I've been part of many ASQ events. Especially in my country, I was the first ASQ black belt, and I believe the first ASQ trainer as well, because after that I've guided about 6 people to get ASQ certification way back in 2009-10, that time period. Also I've visited many times to Phoenix, especially I think before the pandemic, every other Lean Six Sigma conference, I've been a speaker, if I'm not mistaken, but about 4 times consecutively, I came down to Phoenix. And of course, our company headquarters is based out of Scottsdale. So I used to travel there frequently, and I love going to, I was saying in the breakout room, going to Flagstaff, Sedona, even the Grand Canyon. I think one of the beautiful places on earth, and I really do enjoy visiting Phoenix all the time. So uh, just to quickly introduce where I come from. Now you might wonder, for me, it's 12th morning at 6, now almost like 7:15 over here. And so I come from a country called Sri Lanka. And a lot of people, when you say Sri Lanka, they say namaste. No, but we are not from India. So India is a different country. Sri Lanka is an island, like the Caribbean islands, which is situated below India. And below Sri Lanka is where the Maldives situated. So we speak a different language altogether. So we generally start a session by saying Ayubowan. So we greet like this, saying Ayubowan. So Ayubowan refers to may you live long. And let me start saying Ayubowan to all of you. And so in terms of the country, Sri Lanka has population equivalent to Australia. And most of the Sri Lankans do live in other countries. For example, our fourth largest city is Melbourne. The fourth largest city of Sri Lankans is Melbourne. And I think fifth largest city of Sri Lankans is Toronto. Because during the 30 years of civil war and tsunami and whatnot the country was facing through, a lot of people did migrate elsewhere. But country is right now is the most developed country out of South Asia in terms of the advancement, but not one of the richest countries. But still, the development is pretty fast because of tourism and so many other things, the geographical location of the country. And if you look at the popularity of Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka is known for its tea, and most of the black tea you'll be consuming if you will be coming from Sri Lanka. So that's a quick introduction where I'm situated and located right now. And to talk about where I work for SSMI. So SSMI is a company which is founded by Dr. Michael J. Harry. And I hope all of you are aware of him. He's the person way back. He's from Phoenix. I mean, he used to live his entire last 15 years over there. And he's a product of Arizona State University. And he was very much involved with ASQ at the beginning when Professor Gregory Watson was part of the ASQ, I think ASQ chair. So as far as information goes, I think he was part of the team who introduced the Six Sigma programs to ASQ. But with different reasons, he of course had a fall off, and during his final periods, of course, he was not pretty much attached to ASQ. And I got to know Dr. Harry initially reading a photocopied book in 2004. Sri Lanka didn't have any Six Sigma books or such. So I had to get a photocopied book. And that's how I got into Six Sigma. And 10 years later, I met him with my, where my career moved on, where I was speaking at a Quality Expo event in Chicago. And that's the time I first met Dr. Harry in 2013. And we, for some reason, we became very good friends. And every time when I used to come for ASQ conferences, I used to stay at his place. And that's how I also got to know Vic and many other friends over there in Phoenix. And so in 2015, Dr. Harry actually asked me to take over his company and manage it for Asia, Pacific, Middle East, and African region. The main reason, of course, he didn't want to get into all this, but I mean, back to consulting and training, he was more or less retired. But it was because of the request that a lot of people did make about some of the dilution, as you make, that you find in the Asian region about the concept, every other concept, because it become commercialized, and people cut down the content of every program, and to the extent you have a lot of certified bells, as per se, who doesn't even know how to calculate the sigma value, and or even so So because of all these things was the main reason. So I was working at that time in Malaysia. I came down to Sri Lanka, and I established the Asian office in Sri Lanka. And we have an office in Europe based out of Italy. It is manned by Dr. Fabrizio Marana. He was the former Ferrari and Maserati quality director. And also we have a couple of directors who are looking after North American and South American region. Alan looks after North American region. Aubrey looks after the South American region. And Dr. Kathy, who's from ASU, he's also part of our technical team. So after Dr. Harry's passing in 2017, Sandro Harry chairs the board. So we are in across many countries right now. And importantly, we've been ranked for the last 3 years in many award ceremonies in Asia as the best Lean Six Sigma training and consulting company. And we into consulting, training, and so on. So some is a bit of background about where I come from and the company. And so before I start, I want you to take part with me in a poll. So this poll, and we're going to use this application called Poll EV. I'm sure you have used this before, because I remember once I spoke to Dave. Dave said he did use this in one of the previous sessions. So I would like you to scan the QR code using your mobile phone. You know, if you see browse on the mobile phone, there is this QR code scanner. And if you just scan this, it'll take you to the poll. Right. So let me show the instructions again. So you can go to pollev.com, and then you need to enter Lean Six Sigma Asia 001, and then you can enter, or else you can just scan this and it'll take you directly to the poll. Or else you can use this and go to pollev.com on your browser, enter Lean Six Sigma Asia 001, which is one word. So the first question that you need, I would like to know, what does Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing means to you? And so as being professionals and practitioners who are pretty tired today in the evening as per the survey results, so I would like to know, what do you think? So you can type anything you think is what you feel, what Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing means to you. And if you respond based on your words, we will get a word cloud over here. And if the same word is repeated several times, you will find that word is becoming bigger. So I see some of you have responded, and I will give some time for everyone else. All right. So a lot of people are saying this is to do with automation. So that's why the automation word is becoming bigger. Big data. Right. Thank you for responding. Let's see if everyone responds. What kind of word cloud that comes out of to the question, what does Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing means to all of you? Very smart automation, digital devices. Right. Okay, I'm going to give a bit moment, maybe a couple of seconds for you to keep responding. All right, I think that's a good number that has responded. So let's look at what does it mean to you. So all of you feel that it's to do with automation, a smart way, and it's to do with digital devices and integrated methodologies, and of course big data. That's a word, IoT. And so this is what. So we already know what Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing means. So which is good. It makes my life easy. And also, when I go through the session, it's easy for me to explain things. So thank you for responding. I'm going to lock these feedback right now. So we will have this word cloud once the presentation is over. So is it, if you really look at it, smart manufacturing and industry 4.0 is here to stay. Now, the amount of people who are getting into smart devices. If you take the Asia Pacific region, 48.4% of people have internet. So that's a huge number considering the two largest populous nations are in Asia. So the huge number of people are into having internet connectivity, and there's about 3.5 billion people who have access to broadband or data. And if you look at the kids today, and the teenagers and people have all got into this whole smart devices and then to smart home concepts, and so everything is becoming smart, and we are trying to incorporate or integrate technology into everything that we do. So when it comes to manufacturing, so there is no excuse. And inevitable, in time to come, people have to make use of smart manufacturing methodologies or Industry 4.0 base technologies. So if you look at these words, so what does Industry 4.0 mean? So, the industry revolution has gone through different phases, starting from Industry 1.0, which is the advent of the water based or steam power based mechanical production, going back to 1784, where first mechanical loom was founded. So the main phases of people start using machines initially into production facilities, where most the factory concept was started. It goes back to the first revolution. And years later, then came Industry 2.0, somewhere in the beginning of the uh, uh, early 1900s. So where people started automating or introducing the mass production line, the assembly lines, where, if you know, the first um, slaughterhouse, which was on an assembly line, was introduced in 1870 in Cincinnati. So Industry 2.0 was taking the whole factory concept, the mechanization, the water power, steam power into the next level by introducing assembly line based mass production. And later, in when the computer and automation was introduced, came the advent of Industry 3.0, where people start using computer, the logic controllers, the programmable logic controllers into operation. So in the first programmable logic controller was introduced was Modicon 084, was introduced in 1969. And now we come to Industry 4.0. So what is Industry 4.0? Now, Industry 4.0 focus on creating cyber physical systems or connectivity era. So we call connectivity connecting all the physical systems with the virtual networks, so we can integrate and make use of technology as a system, And what's next after Industry 4.0? After Industry 4.0, the next version is already being discussed, the mass customization and cyber physical cognitive systems. A good example for this is the movie called The Circle, which came out, I think, in 2017, which is starred by Tom Hanks and Emma, which is one of the British the girl who was in Harry Potter. So if you watch The Circle, you'll understand what Industry 5.0 is really getting into, where some of the storylines in their story is very interesting. And so which is, we are not that far from certain Industry 5.0 concepts that comes into play. So when you talk about industry revolution, industry 4.0 make use of key technological drivers. So these are mainly 9 drivers have been discussed commonly. So these include autonomous robots, simulation methods, system integration, which refers to horizontal and vertical integration, Internet of Things, and cybersecurity, as you can see, cloud computing, additive manufacturing, or you call 3D printing, augmented reality, and use of big data. So these are the key 9 dimensions that have been talked as the main drivers of Industry 4.0. Now, for examples, I've given some examples here. Good old days, the work instructions, the flow charts were manually drawn. Not anymore. The companies are now making use of the video mapping technology to overcome this general process mapping, flow charting that we used to do, because people are more used to watching and learning things from YouTube. So it makes more sense that we get into video mapping instead of flow charting in terms of training and using it like standard work instructions, and using use of cobots to support humans in their operations. And there's this whole thing called creating a digital twin. So this automation is come to especially for automobile industry. It is being introduced for quite some time now, but not for all industries. But some companies are adopting these autonomous robots, especially in their warehouse, moving their raw material, and so on. And the last mile delivery, as you know, what Amazon is doing, and autonomous cars, and augmented reality, which is, I think it was not long ago that there was an operation, heart operation was completely conducted using augmented reality. And of course, additive manufacturing is widely used now. 3D printers have become very cheap. These technologies basically are the main drivers of Industry 4.0. Now, how come now these things contributes to manufacturing? That's where smart manufacturing comes to fruition. Now, smart manufacturing refers to use of the cyber physical systems in a production environment. Now, if you talk about a manufacturing setup, you will have Internet of Services and Internet of Things. So making use of Internet of Things would mean use of sensors, actuators, controllers, and even mobile devices, and integrate them with the services that you have. For example, your CRMs, the ERPs, the QMS, in terms of the manufacturing process. I've given a kind of example here. For example, you find people are using wearables, so you keep tracking people's progress, and even to draw a spaghetti diagram, that you don't have to spend time in the flow anymore. A lot of companies now have moved on to using wearable RFID technology to understand the movements of somebody around the machine. And also the lot of machines, if you talk about the analytics, have improved a lot, and there are self-optimizing machines based on the performance. And also unmanned truck has been there for many years now. And so if you look at in terms of the visual control side of things, there are a lot of things that have improved with the introduction of all these Internet of Services and Internet of Things into manufacturing environment. So this is how Industry 4.0 influenced smart manufacturing. So now there are certain things that we need to understand that happened with the pandemic. Before the pandemic, most of the companies were enjoying a sea of revenue because the revenue was so much, they didn't see anything that was beneath of that whole revenue. Say there are companies who completely neglected or even didn't expect something like this to happen. They kept their cost lines pretty high, and they didn't see there were big rocks, which is equivalent to cost and waste, and would say variation issues, all of that, which is right beneath the seabed. And they also went on to get big fish to, it's a sea. So a lot of big fish was living inside of the sea. But once the pandemic hit, suddenly this revenue that a lot of companies used to experience became more like a lake. So the big fish could not survive, and only the small fish did. And most of these things that was in the seabed surfaced, and so people had to start looking at these things seriously. Now, what is the effect on Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing in this situation? The biggest problem a lot of companies faced, even they love to get into technology, automation, bring in robots and do all of that, there were no capital. So, for example, the garment industry, in which is supporting many livelihoods in Asia Pacific region, especially South Asia, they generally import all the raw material from China, and their customers are US, the Europe. That's where they, for example, all the big brands in terms of clothing. If you talk about Nike to Puma to Adidas, everything gets stitched. The clothes get stitched in South Asia. And so what they do, they bring in all the raw material from China and other parts, they stitch based on the request or the requirements of the designers in Europe, and they send those goods. Now, when the pandemic hit, the demand for luxury clothing went down in Europe, like Italy, everywhere. People had other things to focus on. And so the demand for all these companies went off. And on the other hand, even they had the demand, they could not source the raw material because China was affected. So most of the companies' revenue plummeted, and overnight they had to let go of a lot of people. Now, if you look at the numbers, 167 million jobs, that's equivalent to the population, I think close to Bangladesh's population, lost jobs due to the loss time in working hours. That's what it was equated to. The time lost in working hours was equal to 167 million jobs. And the foreign direct investment into Asia came down in 31%. So the government has to move on to counter fiscal borrowings. About $6.1 trillion had to be borrowed by most of the Asian countries. So which also created a lot of other issues. For example, the UNDP also estimated during this period, because of the lockdowns in these parts, 6.7 million people, 6.7 million school kids dropped out from college. That's equal to the size of the population in Singapore, even 1.5 times the population of Singapore. So this is huge numbers, and nobody expected all of this. So I've also, in the slide, you see some of the headlines that I came across in the internet and so on. So every industry was affected, and of course, certain industries was doing well, the pharmaceutical and medical and so on. But the thing is, it was very difficult for people to adopt smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 based technology as predicted few years ago. How it will take over, how the progression happens, it did not happen at the same rate. So I'm going to ask you another question. So what are the key challenges on Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing faced due to the pandemic? What are the key challenges on Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing due to the pandemic? I'm sure you would have tried out certain things. So you can use the same link if you're, I'm going to ask a few questions as we go along. So you can scan the QR code, which is on the screen. It'll take directly you to the poll. And use your mobile phone. There's this QR code scanner now, if you look at, and then you can respond. Right. Hey, thank you for responding. So finding workers, obviously, and what are the other things you think are the challenges in terms of Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing? Let me show the QR code. Supply chain problems. Here's the QR code. You can keep sending so we can get responses from everybody in the room and understand what's going on over everywhere. Right, I'll give some time for everyone to respond. You can also go to polev.com, type Lean Six Sigma Asia 001 and respond to this. Nice. Thank you for responding. Really appreciate. Right. So as you can see, supply chain problems is one of the key things that everyone is mentioning here. And then also I see workers disruption. Very good. Cash. See the word cash there. No money. And yeah, culture. Yes. Having shortages, revenue, scale. So you can see the big word that comes out so far from the audience is supply chain. Now let's see what about the others. I'll give one more, maybe 30 seconds for you to log in and respond. And this is very interesting because this is true feedback coming from all of you who are practitioners, who are in the game for the last 2.5 years in during this pandemic, fighting through and trying your best for your companies. And what if you had to do Industry 4.0 smart manufacturing? What were the challenges that this brought in? Waste? Yeah, exactly. Good. Very good. Thank you so much for responding. Really appreciate. If you still have not responded, you can use this QR code and just scan it from your mobile phone. It'll directly take you to the poll. And I'm going to ask couple more questions as I go along, and it will be a good survey for us also to understand what goes in around Phoenix. All right, I think most of you have responded. So let me lock the responses. So we will have a screenshot of this when we move on. So as you rightly said, there are so many challenges that I came through. So what happened? Companies day to day go through many challenges, right? The lowering in prices, personalized deliveries, data protection, shorter lead times, and all of that. On top of all of that, now all the companies are faced with additional challenges. As you said, supply chain related challenges, business continuity, the new health regulations. Now, people, we wanted to do a Gemba study. We wanted to do Kaizen activities. We want to do kata activities. We want to do so many things together as a team, but we can't come closer to each other. We have to keep a distance. We have to bring in partitions in certain cases to, isolate cubicle, which is completely, is something opposite that we used to do in Lean. And one of the important things that really struck hard in these parts were access to capital, because the revenue was plummeting and they had no money to even to go for smart tech. And especially the smart tech, even they were cheap, still people couldn't afford the cheaper smart tech options that were available. So this actually did create a case for concepts like Lean Six Sigma. I'm going to show you some insights from these part of the world. So the ROIC, which is return on invested capital, was made mandatory by many companies. So even you want to go for buy a 3D printer, you had to justify why do you want a 3D printer, and you want to even to go for a CCTV system, you had to give explanation why are you going for something like that. So this is the biggest challenge. One is you don't have supply, and even if you want to buy certain things, you have to justify everything. So, one of the important factors to consider, considering the current situation, if you want to go adopt these practices, Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing, is the ability to justify your investment. And there are other factors as well. If you can see this video that's happening on the side, you watch it closely. So this guy is carrying 3 bags of something, and so the guy who walks by tries to introduce. Now he also have a wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow is something you put everything and you just push it aside, so it's easy because it has levers. But look at what the guy is doing. This is a big problem in certain parts when you talk about smart manufacturing or industry 4.0. The people maturity plays a huge important role before you start adopting anything. And then the technological feasibility. Now, for example, for autonomous driving, you need 5G connectivity minimum. But if you take Asia Pacific region, there's only few countries that who have even started having a 5G network. So how are you going to go for advanced tech, like even um, showing my internet connectivity is pretty weak. I hope, please let me know if my voice breaks. I will repeat those sections. Uh, and the business process maturity. The maturity level of the processes is another factor. When to use technology in. In before you bring in any assessment, any technology, you need to understand the level of maturity your processes are experiencing. So if it's a startup, you're going to bring in a ERP, it must just kill the whole startup. So it's just like that. And the organization maturity, the stage in life cycle. So these factors are very crucial before you adopting smart manufacturing, industry 4.0, or even lean Six Sigma for that matter. So this is this, or now just to explain this concept, I thought of taking a simple example. Let's say this is a photograph of a garment manufacturing operation, and there is a lady who's stitching some garment to a client, maybe in Europe or in US for that matter. Now, let's say if you have to improve this operation, now if you want to introduce, if you're willing to introduce smart tech and industry 4.0 in a time like this, you need to think twice and first look at and break down this operation to understand where to target and where to help, where to intervene. Now, if let's say if the demand requirement for this particular operation is about making 100 units per hour, so that would mean a takt time of 0.6 minutes per unit. And so if that is the case, now when you want to improve, so we look at the key elements in this process, the small activity that we see here. So to do this activity, this lady wants a machine, and then the raw materials should be available in good quality. And then third element is the lady, uh, the person or the lady who's stitching it. Now, so if you want to, if you're understanding, trying to introduce smart tech or smart manufacturing or industry 4.4 methodologies here, first you need to understand whether it is really required here in the first place. It's because the company has to wants you to justify ROIC now. So what we do is we need to understand capacity situation. For example, in this case, the machine, even at 90% performance rate, can produce 180 units. So if that's the case, because your demand is 100 units, there's no need for you to do anything in terms of increasing capacity. But the only thing the machine has an issue is the quality rate. So you can introduce smart manufacturing or smart tech like barcoding, identifying these defects and understanding the timelines these defects happens, the root cause. You can undertake projects only for reducing those defects and without focusing on increasing capacity. Because if you sometimes what people do is they immediately when things they have issues, they move on to or trying to automate. But actually in this case, there's no such requirement. The current machine is more or less is able to uh, meet the demand. And then in terms of the second element, the raw material. The raw material you can clearly see is the availability an issue, and the quality rate is also an issue. So now here's a situation. Now you need to start working on projects on these things. So these are easily falls under the bracket of structured problem solving methods like Lean Six Sigma. So the projects will not be more smart industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing related, but it would be more Lean Six Sigma and structured problem solving focused projects will be required in such situation. And also with regard to the lady who's stitching. So now in her case, her performance rate is 95% is 95 units. Because the current situation, she only gets 90 units material. So her performance rate is secondary, but the first big problem is she has quality issues. So you need to work through with her to improve that, and that also will require human intervention. So likewise, when you go through an improvement program, you need to go step by step and figure out where you need to actually bring in technology. And so this is where the importance of problem solving methods, structured problem solving methods comes into play. And if we see the trend for the demand for structured problem solving has gone really high in the last few years. Now, LinkedIn ranked structured problem solving or problem solving as one of their top 3 hard skills in 2020. And World Economic Forum, which publishes the top most trending or required skills by employees, listed 10 skills. Out of 10 skills, 5 of them, which were in blue color, are related to problem solving. So people are talking more and more about use of problem solving or methodologies in people to have in terms of a day-to-day life over becoming more aware of smart and so on. So I'm going to ask you a question here, right? And I think I might get obvious answers, but anyway, this question is for you to tell me, what do you think is the most popular structured problem solving methodologies out there right now? Is it Industry 4.0? Is it Six Sigma? It is Lean Six Sigma. Is it lean management? Is it lean manufacturing? Is it smart manufacturing? And I'm going to show you some stats so you will understand what's the reality based on our research. So far, everyone is responding Lean Six Sigma. Let me share the QR code for you to scan and answer. Just scan this and it'll take you to the link. Just a matter of selecting which one do you think. Lean management. No one for Industry 4.0, Six Sigma, lean manufacturing. Don't think they're famous anymore. That's not what the world is looking right now. All right, so there's people for lean manufacturing. More and more is into Lean Six Sigma. No one is into Six Sigma, surprisingly. And then into Industry 4.0, no one is interested. You think it's not popular right now in the world? Right? So here's the responses. All right, so I think that's a good amount of response. Surprisingly, I'm going to stop the response period now. Surprisingly, you'll find there's nobody thinking Six Sigma is popular and smart manufacturing is popular and Industry 4.0, no, it's not popular. Let's look at some of the data. Now, this was carried out in Google Trends. You know, Google Trends is a free service available in Google where you can go and type to find out what is the search interest of a particular word in the world. Now, if you do that, this is for worldwide for a period of 3 years. So I've used the search terms Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing, Lean Six Sigma, lean manufacturing. Surprisingly, what people are mostly searching in the world is for Six Sigma. It's a surprising thing for the last 3 years. And then you have Lean Six Sigma, lean manufacturing. You can do this by yourself also. Just go to Google Trends, use these search terms. We used to do this for fun when the last election was going on. What people are searching, was it they were searching Trump or Biden? Yes, it was interesting. So it shows the search interest of people in Google browser. And so right now, based on Google, this is what is more popular. And when it comes to Lean Six Sigma, what is out there in the industries, is the people have different opinions about it. Especially it comes with what you know sometimes. So one person could be a lean expert, another person could be a TQM expert. So everybody sees the elephant in different way. So for you to understand Lean Six Sigma, of course, you need to have a good hold on Six Sigma and also Lean. We talk about the world. There are fans, hardcore fans on Lean, and who goes on, and then hardcore fans on Six Sigma. And there are people who likes to have both together. Like some people like ice cream, some people like cake, and they would like to have both together sometimes. And the origins of Lean goes back to Toyota, and the word was introduced by John Krafcik. So I'm not going to go in these details in this forum. And Six Sigma, of course, started at Motorola. The word was introduced by Bill Smith. The main DMAC methodology, which was started by Logic Filters, was mainly introduced by Dr. Michael J. Harry. Unfortunately, Bill Smith didn't see how Six Sigma progressed in the world because he passed somewhere in 1993. So it was Dr. Harry who was assigned the responsibility to promote this in the world. And then in terms of Lean Six Sigma, there are many claims who came up with it first. But if you see if you look at a publication, it was this publication published by Michael George, first time had the word Lean Six Sigma. So if you look at the past success, Six Sigma, this is an ASQ survey, which is published, which showcased amount of savings that companies had made from Six Sigma. It assumed to be around 500 billion. Some people have questions. Some people say it's published on annual reports, so valid. And Dr. Harry also have published certain books about deployment stuff. Now, but what is it now? That's what we want to know. So if you take the current situation, I was attending a conference in South Korea last October. So the Samsung vice president was asked about Yungjing Shu about what are you guys doing right now during the time of pandemic. And surprisingly, he said we have moved completely onto Six Sigma and DMAC. It's a very surprising statement. And we also looked at how about these leading companies in US, how many employees in LinkedIn had mentioned Lean Six Sigma as a skill. And these were those numbers. So in Apple to Tesla to Microsoft, you had people who had skilled in Lean Six Sigma. And if you look at the Asia Pacific region right now, as a company, during the last 5 years, we have trained over 20,000 resources. That's a huge number. And the interest has been so high. And during the pandemic, we had a class which had 139 people from 19 countries, which is a black belt program. And since then, every batch we had more than 100 participants from 15 plus countries. So the interest is really out there because people have to come up with ways, not just looking at smart manufacturing and industry, all this technological advancement, they need to start doing it what they have. So a lot of companies started looking at these things. And the world's largest, or not largest, the Asia's largest conference of Lean Six Sigma was also held just before the pandemic. We had more than close to 600 participants from multiple countries in Asia taking part. This was organized by us in Sri Lanka. Here's some pictures. And we even went to produce a song on Lean Six Sigma. If you are in Spotify, iTunes, you'll be able to listen to this song. And even the president of our country was interested on Lean Six Sigma. He used to read Lean Six Sigma books and ask for more books. And he used to apply some of those concepts in his day-to-day activities, like especially the Gemba studies and so on. So the interest is actually in these regions have gone high during these situations, mainly because of these certain constraints it's had. And this is a estimate that I got from LinkedIn in August to understand how many people are there who are interested in Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing. So that number you can see for each country. LinkedIn has about 745 million profiles. And Out of that, this is the number which has mentioned Industry 4.0, which is about 0.09. But there's about 0.89%, almost close to 1% of people had mentioned Lean Six Sigma in their profiles. So that's a huge number. 6.6 million people is equivalent 1 to 1.5 times of population of Singapore. So, and these are the numbers for US. So if you overall look at it, uh, the popularity of Lean Six Sigma is 10 times larger than the new Industry 4.0, the smart manufacturing. So it just does not say that Industry 4.0 is or smart manufacturing is less popular. It's just that the times are such that people are still sticking by the Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma methodologies in this region. And if you look at the job opportunities, this was the difference. 15,000 jobs, which was asking for Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing. Well, Lean Six Sigma and Lean Sigma, there were 96,000 jobs worldwide on 17th August. And moving on, so if you look at how does these two concepts come together, then that is what my main topic today I want to talk about. How can smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 methodologies come and contribute to what Lean Six Sigma already have? As you know, Lean Six Sigma focus on value creation, and doing so as the frameworks, it mainly make use of three fundamental frameworks: the DMAC framework, DMA-DV framework, and IDOF. Some people do have differently classified these, but these were the ones that Dr. Harry initially had when he was going through all his deployment. So DMAC is generally used to do incremental improvements. DMA-DV is for exponential, where you have design changes involved, and IDOF was for brand new processes when you're designing, and which the DMA-DV and IDOF is what commonly people call as design for Six Sigma. So this is, if you look at what this mainly look at is, we have structured different types of structured problem solving tools under these phases. To implement Lean Six Sigma, what we do is to use a framework, and yeah, let me see whether so we use a framework, and we, under the particular framework, we do discuss different structured problem solving tools and methods under the phases we specify under the frameworks. So this is what we do as a Lean Six Sigma application. Now, if you're to integrate smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 methodologies, what we need to do is we need to adopt these technologies, methodologies with the tools that we use. Now, here's an example. So the traditional way of drawing a value stream map that a lot of people, in terms of drawing a value stream map, the good old days, used to go to the flow and maybe stand next to Ono circle, look at what the operator or that particular process is doing from start to an end. But this thing has no longer is happening if you really look at it, because with the advent of technology, people have realized the more you go to observe somebody to do a time study based on principles like Hawthorne studies, they tend to perform better or go slow, because people, when they realize they're being watched, they tend to generally perform better or perform slower. So with the advent of smart manufacturing technologies that's available, now people have started using more and more things like CCTVs to record operation within the factory. Certain countries, this is not allowed, but in most of the Asian countries, this is allowed. So you can use CCTVs to record the entire operation, so you can get more number of data. You could observe people on their real life scenarios. So you'll see more non-value adding activities than what you do in a general observation. So this is one of the things that people have started doing. And if you talk about understanding the number of defects and everything, rather than doing counting, people have now moved on to using barcodes and tagging based on defect types automatically. That gives a real-time information about the overall effects. And then in terms of the movements, the transportation of material, transportation of people. People have started using RFID tags. So the good old days where people used to draw a spaghetti diagram manually now automatically gets generated with the RFID movements. Even there are RFID tags which is available even for $10-15. So the cost of these things are going down. And also the available of real-time information makes things like value stream maps to be drawn real time and make improvements. That's another big advantage out of this. And so you can now look at the distribution of each of the process steps, identify what type of distribution each process steps generates. Sometimes one process might have exponential distribution. The next process might have a viable distribution. And then you can looking at using something like Monte Carlo simulation or any other simulation software, which is advocated by smart manufacturing methods, and come up with the lead time distribution, and then understand where your bottlenecks, do continuous flow, and all of that. So the way we used to look at the traditional ways of doing things have now changed. Like the Ono circle is now, could be a PTZ camera where you can pan, tilt, and zoom. And it's in one location, and you can see the operation from start to end, zoom in without giving any notice for the employees. So you observe them in real life scenarios. And so what's now which has come with this smart manufacturing industry 4.0 is the data availability has increased, the communication has increased. You can do more tracking, much better real life. And there is a lot of, especially in terms of R&D side with the 3D printing, and they are able to do more of DOE experimentation with cost effectively. And the list goes on. And so if you look at the future, if you're to incorporate Lean Six Sigma with this, what we need to look at is understand the tools and methods that can be benefited with the available technology. So bringing those tools into the kitty where you might be using DMAX, SCORE, you might be using any methodology, any framework. But in each framework, what you find is problem-solving tools, which is being structured or laid down based on that framework. So you could bring in this technology along with the tools to make things faster, things more efficient and more reliable and real-time. And so here's a kind of example. For example, if you look at the key or technological drivers, which is advocated by Industry 4.0 thing, and if you take our Lean Six Sigma toolkit, what driver could benefit each of these toolkit? Like we talk about a TPM, total productive maintenance. There are so much benefits it could get from things like IoT, system integrations, cloud computing. So there are a lot of benefits and there are a lot of applications under each of these methods. Talk about Kanban, Kaizen, every tool, there are support technologies that are available that can make the tool more efficient, more faster. And for example, a few days back, I was doing a fishbone diagram, a kind of a cause and effect diagram with 10 people from 10 countries using a virtual platform. Now, it would have been impossible, and that output was so good because the 10 people were from specialists from the industry from 10 countries. That would have not been possible for a tool like cause and effect diagram. It generally is being advocated to draw with the process owners who's on the site. I mean, it's a good practice, but technology is available nowadays to even get it even further. And also there are tools automatically let you prioritize and pick which ones to use. So if you take application like Lucid Charts, Miro, there are a lot of collaborative software that has come in, which completely takes off the travel requirements, takes off the timeline differences, everything, because you can log in later and give your responses when it fits your timeline. So communication costs have come down. So there are a lot of benefits that our day-to-day tools we use in Lean Six Sigma can be benefited in the time to come. But of course, keep in mind the cost implications the companies are facing right now. To summarize the session, so what needs to be uh, kept in mind? So for future, it is essential that we all need to think about how to integrate these methodologies into Lean Six Sigma. It's going to be inevitable that we have to do this. And Lean and Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, and smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 have a lot of complementary side to it. And so no one needs to think those are competing concepts and so on. They are going to be very complementary to each other. And also it can, Lean Six Sigma can help the rollout of smart manufacturing where it requires smart manufacturing, where it does not even to be touched because of the ROIC based on ROIC conditions. And of course, any concept would require top management support to implement. And the holistic thinking is very essential, even to implement. That's why I said if you're going to introduce something like augmented reality, where the people in the manufacturing operation can't even speak the language of English, there is going to be a big problem because in most of the Asian countries, the number of people who speak English is very less. Take Japan, there everybody is speaking Japanese. In China, everyone speaks Chinese, and it's possible if you've been to a Chinese airport to find your way around because no one speaks English. So it's just like that. So the language is another concern. The infrastructure is another aspect to be considered before launching these things, and the regulations of each country. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about. And the most important thing I personally believe, and based on my experience over the years, there are no two people who are just same. There's no people who are same way. There are no two companies that are same. Every company is different, and every company is unique. So if you're applying smart manufacturing or Industry 4.0 or Lean Six Sigma, your approach has to be customized to suit that company. I'll give you an example. Sri Lanka's national sport, if you call it, is a sport called cricket. It's very similar to baseball. Not very similar, but it's something like baseball. But if it's like the national sport in India and most of the South Asian, even in England, it's a sport introduced by the English. So in the sports of cricket, for Bangladesh is one of the countries, their best coach was a guy called Chandika Hathurusingha. He was the most successful coach in the Bangladesh history. And he completely turned around the team to win matches and so on, which was a country which was never popular for football. Imagine Sri Lanka becoming one of the pioneers in baseball, it's something like that. So this country just became from nowhere, was known, becoming a name for cricket, game of cricket, and this coach was behind it. So what Sri Lanka did, went and hired him as the head coach. If the guy is the number one coach in the world, should work in Sri Lanka, right? He was fired within 3 months. He could not get anything off the ground because a lot of people do not understand the cultures that Japan had during the time of TPS implementation, the culture America has even the time of the Six Sigma and all of this concepts coming in, BPR and so on, coming from America, is completely different. Cultural dimensions, there are models like Hofstede model, you can look up, which compares the cultural elements. So how you implement something, for example, one-piece flow is not possible in our parts of the world because of the way things are structured, and we can't have we don't have our raw material suppliers next to our door, everyone in China. So in such situations, certain things are not possible. We have to carry a lot of big inventories. So depending on the country's situations, the dynamics, and the cultures, things are to change. So even when you're applying Lean Six Sigma and Smart Manufacturing Industry 4.0, these things are so important to be kept in mind. So with that, I would like to close my presentation. And generally after a presentation, there are three types of people: the ones who understood something, the ones who didn't understand a thing, and the ones who've realized there's nothing to understand. And there is another part of people who are in the center, who are a bit confused what just happened. So I hope you are belonging to one of these three segments. So let's find out. So let me know what you felt about the session. Type A, I learned something. Type B, I didn't understand anything. Type C, I'm so smart, there was nothing for me to learn. And I don't belong to any of these type because I'm mentally impaired. Right, that was a joke. Okay. And so let us know how did the session went for you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them now. Okay. Right.
Well, thank you very much, Dumidu.
I need to find out
Very,
that 14%.
yeah. I think that's yeah, how many people that might be, but yeah, good. I thought it was an excellent talk. I learned something, so I appreciate that. I learned a couple things, but one of the things I learned was had nothing to do with your talk, but about your presentation. So we've been using Poll Everywhere for years and years and years. I just canceled my subscription because I didn't think I would need it anymore, but I really like what Poll Everywhere has done recently with the QR code. It's so much simpler to be able to respond to surveys that way. That I think the section probably ought to consider getting another license. And then Google Trends. I mean, I've known about Google Trends, but I've never really used it. But based on your presentation, I can see how that would be a very useful tool. That over and above what you presented on smart manufacturing and Lean Six Sigma. So I appreciate your talk very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to take any questions. You can keep voting for the session. And here's my contact details. I'm on LinkedIn. So if you scan the code, it'll take you to my profile if you like to be connected. And let me take one more time and to say thank you to Vic, who invited me for this session, your program chair, and also to Bob, who've been writing to me and providing all the instructions of how to go about joining you guys. And it was a great to spend this morning with all of you. And I would like to take any questions if you have right now.
Yeah, so please either respond via chat or feel free to unmute yourself if you do have a question or comment. Barry Kunke is asking, can we obtain a copy of your slide deck?
Yeah, so of course, we are going to share the video. So of course, the video will have the slides. I'm not allowed to share the slides, but of course, the video will be shared.
Yep, this session has been recorded, so I will post the recording on our YouTube channel, which is then viewable from our My ASQ site. Should be within a couple of days. I'll get that up posted. So thank you very much.
Dumidu, can I ask a quick question or at least talk about your presentation a little bit?
Go ahead, James.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually in additive manufacturing. We do titanium for spinal implants and dental implants and foot implants. And one of the things that we found, our whole business manufacturing model shifted at the beginning of this year. So we went from a cycle time of about 70 days. We did a lot of outside processing with our suppliers, and we started working with some small startups, and now everything's custom. So now we have custom spine implants, we have dental implants that are customized, and so we are seeing, and so our cycle time went from 73 days to less than 2 weeks over the first 3 months of the year. So and then we're bringing more and more of the vertical integration in to even get the cycle time down farther. So what you're talking about for manufacturing 4.0 and smart manufacturing is happening for sure.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I think companies are definitely will go for it. It's just that there's times that some of the countries are facing will just slow the progress, but definitely the future is going to be this, and people will adopt smart manufacturing. And there's no if you look at the young generation, is the your kids, your nieces, how much they're into technology. They are so advanced, and they will not be able to survive without technology built-in environment in future. So this is going to come in big way. And as Lean Six Sigma practitioners, I think what we can expect is to try integrating and look at the benefits out of it. And now the good old days, the analysis of any data was taking a lot of time. Now they're going to come up with voice commands. So just you upload the data and you say, show me run ANOVA, and the software runs the ANOVA for you. So we are getting there. And the requirement for like master black belts to crunch data for hours and hours is very soon is going to go away. And so you need to look at areas that can be useful also in future, and be ready for all these advancements, and acquire and be open to learn as well. So thank you so much for the sharing, James. And I'm glad to know things are happening over there.
I see Kim Magalance has her hand raised. Kim, can you respond? Is you able to unmute yourself? Maybe perhaps you can type in the chat box. One of the comments I had is, as we're moving more and more towards automation and smart manufacturing, the advantage is that it really helps to drive process understanding. You no longer need to rely on product data with all the associated test method error.
Yes.
You can rely more on instrumentation like thermocouples and true process data, which has much smaller variation, enabling you to react to much smaller change and sooner, thereby
Yes.
improving quality to your final customer. So all of that plays hand in hand with each other towards rapid process and quality improvement and customer satisfaction. Let's see. I apologize to Kim. I'm not able to unmute you from my end. She did have her hand raised. I don't see anything in the chat box. Anybody else have any comments, questions for our speaker tonight? If not, I want to thank Dumidu again for sharing his presentation and his material. I do want to just remind everybody that next month we have one of our own who will be presenting. And I'll try to get to where I can share my screen. There we go. So Hillary Werner, who again is our newsletter editor and will be next year's treasurer, is employed locally as a forensic scientist. So she will be giving a very entertaining and informative session next month on CSI behind the scenes of forensic analysis and the role of quality. So I look forward to that very engaging presentation, especially now with the recent relaunch of CSI Las Vegas. I think it brings it even more pertinent, and looking forward to a great presentation by Hillary. Just a reminder that you will be receiving a survey link and your RU certificate for this evening's events in an email. You should be receiving that from our BOC chair, John Linlin at msn.com. You should be getting that in just a couple of days. Does anybody have a comment? I thought I heard some additional voices in the background. That's not. A couple more slides just before I adjourn the meeting for the evening. Just a reminder that we do have several partners, one of whom is SWAY, which is the local Baldridge contingent, Southwest Alliance for Excellence. They offer a free webinar every third Thursday of the month. And this month, again, it's at 8 a.m. our time, November 18th. The topic is on how to engage, align, and accelerate performance. And the presenters will be from an area hospital, the Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, that's won the Baldridge Award multiple times. So very good presentation offered by them. See the registration link on the slide. This slide deck will also be posted to our My ASQ page either tonight or tomorrow morning. So this, along with the presentation, will be up there shortly. And just a reminder that the Lean Six Sigma conference coming in late February, you should be seeing information about registration appearing soon from our headquarters at ASQ in Milwaukee. And I do have another couple questions for a poll. See if we can get to that. Let's see, poll. Come on. Oh, shoot. Not sure what happened there. To the wrap-up poll. There we go. So I have three questions in our wrap-up poll. How satisfied are you with tonight's program? Ranging from extremely dissatisfied to mostly or extremely satisfied, I guess. Then question 2 is, how can we add value to the networking portion? If you liked the breakout room or didn't, or if you wanted some other additional topics. And the third question is relating to a future webinar. In October, we delivered a 3-hour webinar on problem solving, and we have another. We want your opinion and suggestions for a future workshop. It could be a 3-hour, it could be an 8-hour, which could be a combination of a couple of different 4-hour sessions. So just looking for some input from you on what you would like to receive some information on. So we got a failure mode analysis workshop or a CAPA workshop, virtual auditing, some SBC basics, or a measurement system analysis. So if you have any preferences there.
Barry, I have a different sort of question, if you have a moment.
Go ahead, Harold.
I just joined this chapter last year from the Portland area. So the Portland chapter is my secondary go-to chapter. And I just gave a presentation there this week. My question is, does the Phoenix chapter get any kind of credit any place when one of their members gets a presentation elsewhere? This is reliability engineering, which is my specialty.
Well, what I would say, Harold, is you do get RU credits for presentations.
Yeah, I do, but I don't know if it helps the chapter.
Well, the section does if they apply for the what do they call it these days? The PAR award, Performance Achievement, no, PAR, Performance, PAR, whatever that says. Oh no, it's called the PEP, the rename from PAR to PEP. My apologies. Performance Excellence Program. You choose as a section or division, you choose to participate. It's not a minimum requirement. This goes over and above that. So if your member unit, like the Phoenix section, if we are participating in that PEP program, which we are, we do indeed receive additional points for co-sponsoring an event or participating in another event, like having one of our members speak at another section or speak at a webinar from a division,
What
we
do you
do
need?
indeed get that credit.
What do you need from me to get that credit?
We would just need evidence, some letter of verification that you presented at a webinar or program meeting or some event, and if that could be signed by that member unit chair or program or education chair, that would be
Okay,
great. And then send
Well, I
that
can
to
send you the
the
link.
chair. Yeah, that'd be good too. Get a copy of the program, sure. Yep,
Okay.
and then we can attach that, and we get credit for that, and that could help us achieve bronze, silver, or gold status as far as excellence in member participation. So
Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you,
get you
Eric.
the link.
yeah, that would be fantastic. Let's see, we do have a couple questions in the chat session before we leave. Let's see, great presentation, beautiful presentation. Sure to clarify, did you say that both the recorded present and the slide deck will be available?
It'll be the recorded session only.
Right, it'll just be the recorded session, not the slide deck. But by watching the recorded session, you'll see the slides. But yeah, as a handout in your hand, that will not be available this time.
But Bob,
Go ahead.
your presentation will be available though, right?
Yeah, my slides will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the links and information
Yeah.
about conferences and upcoming events. Yeah,
I
that
think
will be
it's very
there.
helpful.
Okay. If nobody has anything more to share, then let's see. Final wrap up. Again, we mentioned social media at the beginning. You know, how many of you participate? But just to remind you that we are out there. We're trying to seek as many different avenues to participate and build your engagement as possible. And with that, I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, whether you're traveling or not. Be safe, and we'll see you next month. Have a great evening, everybody.
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me once again.
Thank
Have
you
a good
again,
one, Evan.
Dumidu.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Excellent.
Stay safe.
Thank you.